All right. Welcome, everybody, to our latest edition of Ask the Experts. This week's topic is going to be around endpoint security. Some of you may have seen the news. Cygilant just released our endpoint security tool, and we couldn't be more excited to introduce that to our customers. So, joined with me today is Kevin Lant, VP of Product Management at Cygilant. Kevin played a major role in developing the endpoint for Cygilant. And we had a couple questions for you, Kevin, about the topic. So let's dive right into that.
Sure.
So a lot of people are curious, Kevin. Endpoint. It sounds like an obvious thing, but what really is it? I know a lot of people have different definitions, or it
Yeah,
can.
there's a few other definitions out there. I think the one I like is that it's the starting or the ending point of communication, and that's to put it in the context of a network where you have things like firewalls and switches and routers where the information is the communication is passing through those things, but the endpoint is the source or the destination of that traffic. And so that's going to be, for example, it's servers, it's workstations, it's laptops, desktops. These days, it more and more it's phones and IoT devices as well.
Okay, and I would imagine that as we go more digital, there's just more and more of these popping up in customers' environments, or just.
Oh yes. So the studies that are out there just show a massive proliferation of these devices over the last few years as computing powers become a lot cheaper. You can put a chip into almost anything now, and obviously that's just changed the way we work.
It's crazy to
in
see
terms
the
of the number of endpoints.
yeah, that they're turning into smart devices. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of guy I work with has a smart water bottle. That's
Okay.
that's next level.
Not sure that's
Um,
necessary.
no, it's cool though. It tells you when to drink and stuff, so it's pretty cool. So let's jump to the next question, Kevin. So we're talking about endpoints, and what there's a huge need for it, right? And why is it such a challenge to secure these things?
Yeah, so it comes down to the traditional approach we've taken, which in years past was you knew that most of your endpoints were going to be inside your network perimeter. So they were mostly desktops, servers, data center, some laptops, but for the most part, things were connecting to the outside world through your network infrastructure. So that meant if you secured the perimeter around those things, you didn't have to worry about the endpoints themselves. You put up a firewall, you put up an IDS, and you're scanning all the traffic that's going to and from them, then you're not necessarily worried about securing each and every one of those endpoints. That's kind of changed in two big ways, I'd say. One is that attackers have gotten a lot more sophisticated at getting through those perimeter
Yeah,
defenses. So instead of trying to hack their way in, or using malware that will trip alarms, they're hiding their attacks in legitimate types of traffic. So phishing emails are a great example.
Hmm.
Your firewall and your network infrastructure, it's not going to block email. That's critical to your business. Email coming in and out of the company, you sort of almost have to by default trust it that it's legitimate traffic. And there's a lot of things you can do to try to filter those and look for spam and filter that out. That works pretty well these days. But phishing links and things like that can hide in that, and it's hard to block. So it makes its way all the way to the endpoint without the network infrastructure blocking it. Same with drive-by downloads on websites. It looks like legitimate web traffic, not something you would want to block. So focus has really shifted to, how do we monitor what's going on the endpoint and detect some of these things? And then obviously the second big change, and it's really come home in the last few weeks, is that these devices no longer stay within the perimeter on a consistent basis. A lot of the applications have moved to cloud infrastructure. That means you're connecting to servers that aren't in your physical data center anymore. People are taking things on the road with them, and then obviously most of us are working from home these days. So you can try to get people to route their traffic through your VPN, but that's leaving a lot to user training and trusting them to do those kind of things.
Yeah,
So more focus on the endpoint.
I can imagine, Kevin, once the workforce was required to go remote, those IT managers that now are trying to deal with their whole corporate network now outside the walls of the safety net of their, say they had firewalls or IDS, and now it's just like, whoops, everybody is outside of those protections that we have. What do we do?
Yeah, a lot of people are trying to figure that out now, and I know from talking to some people in our security operations center, the types of alerts and things that we're investigating now, is not exclusive VPN traffic, but it's increased dramatically.
Yeah. So I think it was last week we were talking about the new and unusual as a result of the situation that we're in. What's the SOC seeing? If you guys want to, revisit last week's episode, you can hear all about that from Dr. Ben Harrison. So Kevin, this is, I think, a good opportunity to transition into our announcement. So you've been, head down grinding, getting this thing off the ground. We announced the Cygilant Endpoint security on Monday. Couldn't be, more excited. You want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, there's a renewed focus on endpoint security. And the way I'll differentiate that from antivirus is that with antivirus, you're fingerprinting specific files and mashing them against a huge database of signatures for all the known pieces of malware that are out there. The way that endpoint security works in our context is it's looking more at the behavior of things that are going on the endpoint. So even if we don't have a signature for a particular threat, we can pick up the signs of it, that there might have been an intrusion on that endpoint. So we're looking for things like hidden files or cloaked processes, things that are out of the ordinary that malware writers and attackers use to kind of hide their activity on the endpoint. So what we did was we've released our own agent and endpoint manager technology. We're going to be bundling that with our security monitoring service at no additional cost for the technology, because there are a lot of great solutions out there that obviously we didn't think of this first. There's some really good companies that are making endpoint detection products. The problem has been for the mid-market and a lot of the customers we talk to, they're just priced out of some of those high-end solutions, or they know they want to do it this year or next, but they haven't done it yet. What we want to do is give them an easy way to jump in and deploy that. Even if they have one of those high-end solutions on their radar for next year, don't wait. The threats are there now. We can give you some free tools. And all of those alerts then feed into our threat detection platforms. Our security operations team is going to investigate those alerts like we do with all the other devices that we support through that service. We'll investigate them. We'll let you know if there's something you need to take action on, and we'll try to give you some guidance on what to do about it.
Awesome. So, Kevin, like, how much of an increase in visibility are our customers going to have with their ability to now leverage the endpoint?
Yeah, so like I said, we have some customers that are already using a tool like that, and obviously that helps our SOC a lot.
Yeah.
And we kind of learned from that. The customers that have something like that deployed, our SOC team has a lot more visibility into what's going on. We're not limited to just network traffic anomalies or log in, log out type logs. Those are things that are all important, but we have a lot more visibility. So we said, how do we take that and broaden it to all our customers so that they can all take advantage of that type of visibility?
Mm-hmm. We have a question for you, Kevin.
Sure.
AV is kind of a detection and action on the detection rather than preventive in nature, right?
Yeah, I think I would agree with that for the most part. I think antivirus is very reactive. So um, researchers have to have seen that malware before so they can create the signature for it, and then it's going to let you know it's there, and you've got to go take action on that. Whereas with endpoint security, a lot of the advantage there is we're proactively looking for signs rather than waiting until we know about a particular piece of malware, and so we can actually prevent some of those breaches up front. And a second piece of it is, and this is something we're working on with our endpoint security, is the ability to actually automate a lot of the response, so that that doesn't then spread through the rest of your network. So even if one machine is attacked, we're preventing that from turning into a major breach.
Awesome. So you're sort of leaning into my next question that I have for you here, Kevin. But just before we dive into that, I mean, what amazes me the most is like the number of different malware that's released into the wild every day. And if you're leaning on an antivirus that you are required to keep updated, I mean, it's not a good situation to be in, right?
Yeah, we could probably get our security research folks to talk about this more in depth on one of our Q&As, but I think that's exactly right. So a lot of the malware that really spreads fast, some of the most recent ransomware attacks have really been variations of older pieces of malware that someone took, improved on, changed the signature a bit so it wouldn't get picked up, and the economics of it are, especially with ransomware, it's very lucrative if you can get people to pay ransom. So it's not just kids or people who are activists trying to make a point. These are people that make a living doing it. So obviously you're in marketing, you're always trying to improve your marketing craft. Same with me on the product management side. Same with all our information security specialists. They're constantly learning, and they invest a lot in growing their knowledge and getting better at their job. And that's the same with the people developing ransomware.
Yeah.
It is their career. So they are constantly evolving these attacks, making them harder to detect. And so antivirus is really just playing catch up and is always one step behind.
Yeah. It goes back to the old saying, it's like the cops and robbers. I mean, the bad guys are always one, or at least in the movies, they're always one step ahead of the cops.
Sure, and they're going where the money is, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about you alluded to it a little bit, but the benefits of endpoint security as a service, particularly within the SOC platform.
Yeah, so I think the biggest benefit that we can offer, it was the fact that we're bundling it into the service. So if you've got antivirus deployed today, we're not going to tell you rip that out and replace it with something new. That's a big project, and it's complicated and it's risky, which is that's part of the thing you need to consider. It's risk management. So if you can have something that you can layer on top of it and do defense in depth, I think that really brings down the barriers to starting to implement endpoint security if you're not already doing it today. This is a nice way to just ease into it, add this on top of what you're already doing in a low risk way, and start getting better visibility. And you may find that the endpoint does everything that you needed your antivirus to do, but we're not asking you to do that up front, right? You can keep them in place and run them side by side. Just gives us more layers of protection.
Yeah, the onion, right? The layers of defense in depth. I think we should do a whole segment on that, defense in depth.
Absolutely. Yep. Never goes out of style, I think.
Yeah. I know Ben Harrison, he's a big proponent of defense in depth. Maybe we can have a conversation between you and Ben about that.
Would love to do that. Yeah.
All right. Awesome, Kevin. Well, thanks for explaining everything about Cygilant's endpoint security product. It's it's a great addition to an already, impressive suite of services that Cygilant offers, and it's going to increase your visibility. And there's nothing more important than visibility when it comes to protecting. So with that, Kevin, I think we'll bring things to a close. If there's any questions, we'll give you guys, a minute or so to get those into the Q&A. I want to thank the audience today for joining us. I hope everyone's enjoying their Thursday and looking forward to the weekend. I know I am.
Hopefully it'll stop raining.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. It's funny. Yesterday was so beautiful out, and now today it's just complete opposite. It's New England for you. All right. Mr. Kevin Lant, thank you very much for joining us, sir. And I'll let you get back to it. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Enjoy your day.
Appreciate it. Take
Bye.
care. Stay safe.